Okay, so here's one observation. Jumping back a tiny bit, I was going to ask you about. I've really noticed this. I guess what would it be? It's like a trend or something, or an outlook difference between people that went through trades and tech programs compared to a lot of young people I've met in my undergraduate degree. So before going into undergraduate, I was definitely the type of person that I would kind of always consider, I'd be like, where is my place in our system in Canada? What is my place, and how can I do my best to kind of optimize my behavior for my current situation to get me to where I want to go? The system itself, I viewed as, I was like, there's not much I can do about it. I get one vote, I get my own actions. But besides that, there's a lot of things that aren't exactly worth consideration because they're not moving me in any direction. They're essentially useless for me at this exact moment. And a lot of my peers were like that. At university, you get a lot of focus on the system, arguing about politics, arguing about, taxes, welfare, all that stuff, all these conversations, and much less focus on how do you actually act in your life, in the systems, to do the best you can manage, right? So it's like a difference between like actual action compared to, I guess, theorizing about potential solutions to our broken systems. I don't know how we can even say that in Canada, but, critiques of our systems is a majority of the conversation at university, or at least a substantial amount. Have you noticed that, or what do you think about that? Is that a
Man,
fair
that is
observation?
that is a super interesting observation, and I don't know if it's necessarily one that I've like kind of made on my own, but now that you're kind of like highlighting some of these things there, like I am definitely like having some pictures pop into my mind of, oh yeah, you know what, I can kind of see that. And it's that's something that I've kind of noticed, and I got to be kind of careful how I approach this, but I found that a lot of times it's like I find that there's a disconnect between like advocating for something and then doing something about it. You know what I mean? And like it's very easy to like throw up an Instagram post to like raise awareness for something, but then to like take that a step further and like implement change there or like work toward change there. And I'll back this up. Like I noticed a problem. My brother had somebody who passed away in his graduation year driving under the influence. And to me, that was like a huge problem that there's youth out there that either might not have the tools, might not have had the education, might not have had kind of like call it risk management, call it whatever you want. I don't know if that individual or that youth group was exposed to kind of tools to make like informed decisions and to be able to kind of weigh the pros and the cons
Yeah.
there. It would have been very easy to like post on Facebook or on Instagram, like, hey, we need to do something for youth. Like that's a very low cost kind of, I guess, action. It's great that you're raising awareness, but I find that it's, you know what I mean? It's very easy to do. I went and took that a step further and then implemented a local like nonprofit organization that has essentially worked towards educating youth and providing them with those like tools. So we've been running what 5, 6 years now. We've gotten 1,200 kids through the program.
That's awesome, man.
It's great. It feels amazing. It was a ton of work though. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
a ton and a ton of work. And to be honest, like it's tricky because some of it is, you can't say that it's like not somewhat self-fulfilling because you know what I mean? Like there's the kind of pressure on you as a university student that if you want to get into competitive programs and so forth, you need to be building a resume and so forth. And it wasn't about that, but at the same time, it kind of is. You know what I mean? That
Yeah.
without that pressure, I don't know if I ever would have went through and kind of gone through all the meetings and put in the thousands of hours to get that program to where it is. Obviously, like I was just one part of that wheel, that to get like a program like that running, it takes a lot of different people from a lot of organizations, but all those people need to put in that time. And there is kind of like an element of like selfishness to that. So, tongue in cheek, I'm saying like it's very easy to put up an Instagram post, a lot tougher to go and do something like that. But it's like, how do we find like kind of like a middle ground between sinking hundreds of thousands of hours into something and then doing more than just putting up an Instagram post? You know what I mean? Like, where is that middle ground? Because I find that if we could find a way that people can actually work towards something, and it's a little bit trickier when you start commenting on like social problems, you know what I mean, or like problems in society, because it's like, well, where do you start with those kind of things? And maybe the first step is kind of raising awareness, but there is definitely like tangible things that you could bring up, you know what I mean, like climate change, for example. Like if you're worried about that, instead of making a post about that, why don't you make it a goal of going and getting 3 bags of garbage off the beach? Like, I
Yeah.
was walking the beach yesterday. It's crazy how much plastic there is on it. And it's like, well, what if we all did that? You know what I mean? Like how
Yeah.
do you kind of like go from that low effort, like very easy, like Instagram post, taking that a step further and maybe 3-4 hours of service towards that like program? And um, that's like a very interesting, like, how do you do that? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, what do you do for that?
Man, that's awesome that you took that personal responsibility on yourself and you went out and did it. And I mean, it's so true, eh? It's like if every single person saw the problems that they could see and went out and tried to fix them, how much better off would we be? It's like, it's hard to even quantify. It's interesting
Totally.
that that idea right there isn't the point of university. Rather, the point is learn about all these systems and criticize them, often flippantly and without too much depth. And just that's the game. Instead of, if there is maybe a legislative unfairness or whatever, some type of asymmetry in our society, what are the actual legitimate steps you can take to try to rectify that? Your idea, though, about it's not exactly all altruistic. There's CV lines that come from it. It's self-fulfilling in a way. This reminds me of another one of Jordan Peterson's ideas, where he says you want to act in a way that's good for you while simultaneously being good for your family, while simultaneously being good for your community, while simultaneously being good for your province and your country, right? So you want to behave in a way that's simultaneously good across all levels of abstraction. And I think that's the
Totally.
root of like change, it comes from the individual, obviously. But yeah, I'm
And
surprised that
that's,
idea is not put out.
yeah, you know what? Like I haven't heard that line of his, but as soon as you started describing that, it's like that is like a sustainable way of acting. You know what I mean? That
Yeah.
if you can find something that is good for you and that also provides benefit for everybody else, like, you know what I
That's
mean?
it.
Like totally. Like you're gonna be motivated to continue doing that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's that. Yeah. It's like that is the perfect type of motivation. Um, I guess that's what's so endearing about some business opportunities, and the opportunities that like a capitalist society provides, where it's like you actually can find situations where you're offering value, you're benefiting, your neighbors are benefiting, and society as a whole is benefiting. You can actually align the incentives.
Totally.
Yeah, it's great insight. Well, man, should we call it there?
Let's wrap it
It's a
up,
good
buddy.
way to end, buddy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
thanks so
my coffee
much.
cup's empty
Yeah,
here. I
me
need
too.
another
I'm looking
espresso.
over. I'm like, I need some more. Yeah, that was a blast, man. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks for organizing this, man. Hopefully there was something in our rambles there that can be useful for somebody.
Dude, hopefully. Okay, I'll pause this, then we can chat a bit more.
Yeah.
Or I'll stop.